Yes, as Craig just said, we haven't podcasted in over 2 months, and I'm going to kill the video now. But hi, everybody that's watching right now.
Hi. Oh, bye.
I'm going to kill the video so we can make the transmission better. But yeah, it hasn't been over 2 months. That's not true. I looked it up. It was a little over 6 weeks.
Okay, we haven't podcasted in over 6 weeks.
Yeah, it felt like 2 months, but it was really,
Yeah.
in reality, it was just a little over 6 weeks. So the thing I actually want to start this podcast with has nothing to do with Nationals baseball whatsoever.
Wait.
No, but I'm going to get there. I just turned on the Caps game.
I was watching that.
There was this advertisement that came on, and I would like to know how you feel about said advertisement.
I probably didn't see.
The line was, the best time to become a Washington Capitals fan was 40 years ago. The second best time is now.
That's cute.
So I feel like it's cute, but I also don't like it at all. I feel like it's like super demeaning. It's like if you weren't a fan 40 years ago, you're kind of bullshit.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, 80% of the Cavs fans you meet have only been fans in the last 8 years.
Yeah, which is fine. I have no problem with that.
No.
I don't like that kind of. It's kind of like the battle of two groups of fans, right? Which has existed in a much smaller area as far as the Nats go, where you had the people that had been around since 2005, and then the people that kind of joined on in 2012. And quite honestly, I more than welcome the fans that are around in 2012. They have been huge additions, and it makes it so much more fun to have, kind of the casual fan that just kind of grabbed on and got really into it in the last couple of years. It's selling out the ballpark and having the average number of people at the ballpark above 30,000 people, and it's fun. I don't get that, like, you're not a real fan attitude if you weren't a fan 5 years ago. I don't like that.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of it. And honestly, I've never really seen any DC-based fans saying anything like that to any other fans. I don't hear the word fair weather fan or bandwagon are really applied to people at the ballpark or people on Twitter or anything. I really don't see that. Do you? I mean,
No.
You've got like 18,000 followers, so.
No, and I completely agree with you. You don't see that. You see people getting into it, and there are people that have been fans for 10 years, and there are people that have been fans for 2 years, and there are even some people that tweet me all the time that were Expos fans that for some reason didn't get super pissed off that they lost their team and decided to keep following the Nationals, which more power to you. I don't know if I would be able to do that at the Nationals.
Oh, I definitely wouldn't.
Yeah, but I don't see a lot of it in the Nationals fan base, and I just find it interesting that the Capitals have created an advertisement based on that. So I don't follow the near as closely as I follow the Nationals. So I don't know if that's kind of a common sentiment among Caps fans that, if you're a fan for a long time, you're a better fan than the more recent ones. I just don't like that mentality personally. Everybody became a fan at some point. And
right.
You weren't always a fan of that team, even if, at 4 your parents indoctrinated it in you. You weren't always a fan of said team. And especially in the case of Nationals fans, you definitely weren't because it wasn't possible.
Yes.
More than 10 years ago. So I saw that and I was like, you know what? I find that interesting, and I think that it ties in with the Nationals fan base. So I wanted to get your opinion on it. I figured we would agree, but I just...
Yeah, shocker there.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I think it'd be funny if we decided one day to call our show Drugan versus McHenry, like Merrick versus... That is really hard to say.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult.
Wyshynski, the NHL podcast, because they very rarely disagree either, and I just think it'd be funny and ironic.
I mean, I'm always up for being devil's advocate, but...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and me too.
I don't have the energy.
Yeah, sometimes it's just exhausting. Although,
Yeah.
I have a little more energy doing this podcast, considering we haven't done one in about 6 weeks.
Well, I don't have any energy, so there.
You could feed off of me.
See what I did there? I just disagreed.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, you
Totally
sure did.
blew
You just
that.
drove right on past, just kept moving.
I never saw it happen. Oh, terrible. That was bad. Sorry, I apologize.
Oh, it's good to be back.
It is. It is 6 minutes in, and I'm already messing things up. So we're going to talk about a lot. We're going to branch out past the Nationals later in the podcast and talk regular season superlative stuff because it's a lot of fun. But we're going to start with Nat stuff, and we're going to start with postseason stuff because, let's be honest, that's exactly why we decided to come out from our 6-week hiatus and actually do this.
Yeah.
The Nationals clinched, and I haven't decided what I liked more. The fact that the Washington Nationals clinched the division like 2 full weeks earlier than in 2012, that they did it in Atlanta, that the Braves are now
15.
Is that right? 15
Yeah.
below.
I found out that last night real quick just to jump in. At the All-Star break this year, the Nats and Braves were tied.
I saw that tweet that you tweeted. That was awesome.
Tied. And as of right this second, the Nats lead the Braves by 15 games, which is, I believe, by 5 games, the largest lead in DC baseball history, headed back to the Senators.
Yeah, so. 15 games is a huge lead, but but more than that, I think I like that the Braves are below 500.
Yeah.
And a half game up on the New York Metropolitans as of this recording.
Last week, I pulled out our NL East preview podcast, which we did with Will Yoder, founder of the Nats blog, and I pulled out our predictions and just make sure we've got those more on the record as we come into the final stretch of the season. How many wins do the Nats have right now, Joe?
I wish that you wouldn't ask me that because I couldn't type in MLB.com/standings fast enough.
I believe it's...
Is it 91?
I believe it's 91 wins.
It is 91, yep.
7 games to go. So Will Yoder predicted the Nats to win 91 to 93 games. And for the division order to be Nats, Braves, Phillies, Mets, Marlins. Joe predicted the Nats to win 92 games. So Joe, for anyone listening out there, Joe is expecting the Nationals to only win one of the next 7 games. So poo-poo him. Nats, Braves, Phillies, Mets, Marlins. And then I came in and I said, I think the Nats are going to win 95 games, which would be 4 of their next 7, which is pretty much right in line with what their pace is, I believe.
Indeed.
And Nats, Braves, Marlins, Phillies, Mets. Whereas Joe and Will both had the Marlins last. I had the Marlins in third, and they've had a much better year than I think anyone really expected.
Yeah, there were a few people that, put Marlins third like yourself. I think I saw a few people put them second back on the national side, which I thought was crazy, but they have played so much better, and you don't lose Giancarlo Stanton, and you have Jose Fernandez at the beginning of the season for the Marlins. I mean, you knew they weren't going to have Fernandez anyway, but you just think about adding those 2 guys. The Marlins might have been a force to reckon with the way they played this year.
Yeah. So anyway, just thought I wanted to get those on the record real quick as we continue to talk about playoffs.
Well, you wanted to get them on the record because you were closer to right than us.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly the reason.
Yeah. But looking towards the playoffs, there are a couple of huge storylines that we're going to have to take a look at and see, just see how they play out in the coming weeks. Like you said, the Nationals have 7 games left. They are going to, at the end of that 7 games, have like 4 full days off.
Yes.
Which, with the way the wild card works now, obviously it's the only way to do it. I mean, you have to have some time off to have those games. You got to build in the days for a rain out. You got to do yada yada yada.
And I'm sorry, lovers of narrative. Hashtag narrative. Doesn't look like there's going to be but maybe one potential wild card tie, and that could be in the AL. So it doesn't look like it's a very exciting finish this year. A lot of the divisions in baseball are just blowouts.
Oh yeah, they're totally locked up. The only really interesting one out there is the AL Central.
And the AL wild card.
Well, yeah, I mean in terms of just division races.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NL Central isn't tied up yet, but it's done.
Right.
It's the same kind of thing where the Nationals were, where you're like it's a foregone conclusion what day that it happens, but it's not going to have that game 162 excitement like it did back in, what was it? Was it 12 or 11?
It was 11.
11, where it was like super exciting towards the end, and there were like 10 clinches in 3 minutes or whatever it was.
The greatest 5-minute stretch in baseball history.
Yeah, it was incredible. But that doesn't mean that there isn't exciting stuff going on. The Royals have a chance to make the playoffs for the first time in 25 years. Is that right?
It's a long time.
I feel like it's like 25 years. So there's a pretty good chance they're going to make it no matter what, but they might actually win a division, and that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. But with the Nationals, the 4 days off concerns me a little bit with the way that they're playing. When you have a break like that, I feel like it favors the teams that aren't playing well more than the teams that are. You look back at, I think it was the '07 Rockies, who in the playoffs swept the NLCS and then just got destroyed in the World Series because they had 8 days off or something.
Yeah, that was also the Rockies team that won 19 out of 21 games to make the playoffs.
Right.
And I believe, was that the year of the Matt Holliday in the tiebreaker?
I really don't remember, to be honest with you.
Oh, if someone's listening, if anyone's actually listening on Twitter, see if that's the year that Matt Holliday slid into home in a kind of a tiebreak game, 163, against the Padres. No one knows if he ever touched home plate. Someone chime in on Twitter. Sorry.
That's awesome. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, he busted up his face.
Maybe I remember that a little bit. So long ago. But does that concern you for the Nationals as much? I mean, I'm not saying I'm really concerned about it, but does it concern you at all?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this next week holds for the Nationals, because since the team has clinched, you've seen a lot more of these call-ups, 40-man people getting into games. And, I mean, you saw the last game against Atlanta the day after the clincher, the afternoon after the clincher, and it was literally no one. It was Scrub McGee lineup. And then you saw yesterday in Miami, you saw a very let's rest 4 of this 9 starters and just give everyone a chance. So I think Matt Williams is kind of testing how everyone's reacting to getting a little time off, getting Zimmerman back in slowly. So I think it's actually a little bit more of a luxury that the Nationals clinched so early so that they can get that rest, and then those 4 days off won't seem like such a big deal. For instance, 4 of the starters on the team are having at least 2 days off. With yesterday and then a day off, an off day today.
Yeah, that's true. That's not something that I thought of. It's not like they're pushing all the way to game 162 and then having 4 random days off. They're working towards something, but there are guys getting days off now. So maybe it's a little different. There's a little bit of a come down period here, a little tiny bit, before you get the days off. So it won't be kind of the same shock to the system.
Yeah, that's how I envision it.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way, but that's actually an interesting call. I like the idea of it. Maybe that has something to do with it, but I just a couple of days, 4 days off before you go into a series with whoever you end up facing is going to be, which it's looking increasingly like it'll be the Giants or the Pirates. Are they going to be the Nationals' opponent in the National League Division Series? So,
right, and you're also looking at teams that, as of right now, are kind of still pushing, still trying to get to that point where they have to play a game in the play-in game,
Yeah, and if you're looking at standings, the Pirates are playing some of the best baseball they've played all season. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They are making a strong push. That's like we said, it's basically a foregone conclusion that NL Central. But the way the Pirates are playing, they're 2.5 games out with 7 left. There's an outside chance there that they can take over the NL Central. But then you look at what the Giants are doing. They are kind of having a bit of a scuffle. They've won 4 of their last 10, and they've lost their last 3 straight. So as they've kind of tried to push to take over the Dodgers, and it looked like that might happen for a little while there because the Dodgers weren't playing terribly well. The Dodgers have started winning some games again, and the Giants are kind of falling off. But it does seem like those are the 2 likeliest teams to play. You can't. I mean, basically everyone else in the National League has been eliminated.
Yeah.
So the only person that hasn't been eliminated from the wild card is Milwaukee, and their elimination number for the wild card is 3. So it's pretty much done that it's going to be those 2 teams. Do you have a preference for who the Nationals face in the division series between the Pirates and the Giants?
Definitely the Pirates.
I have the Pirates, and it's for 2 reasons. What are your reasons?
I have one reason, travel.
Yeah, so my one reason is that I don't want West Coast games in the first series. For 2 reasons. I mean, the 2 reasons being for the players to travel that early, and B, I don't want to have to stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning to watch a DS game.
Yeah, that would suck.
I mean, that's really brutal. And where I might not do that in the regular season, I'm doing it every single day for the playoffs. So you
don't have a choice.
Yeah, that would be brutal. The other reason, and I know that this might be kind of an antiquated sort of mentality, but I just believe in the Giants more. I believe in their pitching more. They have quite possibly the most underrated starting pitcher in baseball. He's really, really good. And I think that offense can just kill a baseball. And that stat that you really can't quantify, that clutchiness, I think the Giants, I just believe in that team a little more than the Pirates. And I actually kind of like watching the Pirates play baseball, so I'm not trying to say anything negative. I just like the matchup for the Nationals better.
I definitely like the matchup more. I don't think the Pirates have the pitching that's going to hold the matchup.
Exactly.
I think it's a better matchup, even though I think, honestly, I think the Pirates are a better team.
I absolutely think the Pirates are a better overall team.
Right, but they also, outside of Andrew McCutchen, they don't really have pieces that are scary.
Right. They have Pedro Alvarez, who could hit a home run every once in a while, and by every once in a while, I mean kind of a lot, but he doesn't do that much else. Starling Marte, who's really fast but doesn't get on the bases all that much. So, yeah, I would agree with that for the most part. So it's just a matchup that I like better. But mostly I don't care who they face. It's just mostly the travel thing for the team and for the late night games. That's the main reasoning for me.
Right.
And I want to, at all costs, avoid playing the Cardinals in that division, in that round.
Yeah, I'm not so scared of the Cardinals anymore.
No, for me, it's just a mental thing. I don't want that matchup again until the CS.
That's
just
fair.
Mentally. But yeah, so I think we're in agreement with Pittsburgh. But the Nationals won the season series 5-2 against the Giants. They won 5 of 7 against the Giants this year. It's not like, it was terribly close, to be honest with you. It's not like I don't, but for the most part, that's why I feel that way.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm for that. But the most important thing for the Nationals is to get home field advantage all throughout the National League portion of the playoffs.
Yeah, I totally agree. That is a massive advantage. And so I always seem to remember this. It gets talked about a lot. In 2012, it was the first year that they did the wild card, and they pieced it together. And despite having home field advantage, the Nationals played the first 2 games not in DC of the NLDS. Games 1 and 2 were in St. Louis. Games 3, 4, and 5 were in DC.
That's correct.
And so I think that was a huge disadvantage for the Nationals that year.
Oh, absolutely.
That year. If you play the first 2 games at home, you have the advantage at the beginning of the series, and then you come back for Game 5 if you need to. And the other way, the other team had a chance to take a lead. They didn't. They split the games. But it's still, you look at it and say, man, I think that was a huge, actually, disadvantage for the Nationals that year. To have a regular 5-game series where it's 2-2-1, I think is going to be great for the Nationals. The first NLDS game, if they win home field advantage, will be in Washington, D.C., and that is awesome.
Yeah, because you get that, that initial pop. You get all the momentum of starting the play, all the energy in starting the playoffs is coming from your fans in your support. And don't forget, the Nationals were the best team in all of baseball in 2012, and they had to start on the road.
Exactly, and that I think was like I said, was a huge disadvantage. Speaking of, I think that the having the game at home obviously makes a big deal for matchups, which leads to the question that I think has become fairly obvious, and that's who starts Game 1.
Yeah, I think that any question of who was going to start Game 1 went out of the window yesterday if it wasn't already there.
After the last 5 starts, it's a mortal. I mean, it was even when he was scuffling a lock that Steven Strasburg starting that game.
Yeah.
It's over the last 5 games, I think he's pitched, if I remember, 33 innings with 33 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And has given up like 3 runs or something. I mean, it's been unreal how he's been.
It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
He's been absolutely fantastic. And, and honestly, he hasn't even been the Nats' best pitcher over the last 2 months of the season.
It's been?
That's been Jordan Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Who started the season amazingly, had a little bit of a scuffle, but I think in the last 10 games, the Nationals have won 9 of those starts or something like that, if not all.
I think they've won the last 10 games he started.
Yeah.
And the most incredible thing about that is, over the last 3 games, he hasn't been pitching that well.
Yeah.
His location, his last, all over the place, which is so uncharacteristic of Jordan Zimmerman. But he is so good that it just doesn't matter, that's insane.
And I think that's going to be your first 2 pitchers right there.
Yeah, I think Game 1 is Strasburg locked in. I think you have Zimmerman 2. I think you have Gio 3, and I think you have Fister 4.
I disagree. I think Fister should be 3.
I think Fister should be 3. I think that Gio will be 3.
Interesting. Why do you think he will be?
I think just getting the lefty in towards the beginning. I think they're gonna for some reason. I think that's going to be liked.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to matter at all because I don't think the matchup game is really going to play in too much.
I hope the matchup game doesn't play all that much. I would prefer to see Fister 3 and Gio 4.
I think having a more veteran pitcher who's been there, such as Fister, pitching that first road game just will ease all nerves.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I said, I much prefer that, to be honest with you. But I don't know that I'm convinced that will happen. I mean, at one point I wasn't so sure that Doug Fister wasn't going to pitch Game 1, to be totally honest with you. But, Fister has, struggled a little bit lately, and struggle is a relative term because he's been really good. But just in terms of his 2 flat ERA he had for a while there, he struggled a little bit. But my lineup of choice would be Strasburg, Zimmerman, Fister, Gio, in that order.
Yep, I would agree with that.
So, and it's exactly for the reason that you say. Game 3 is going to be the first game on the road, and I want Doug Fister pitching that baseball game.
Absolutely.
I think that is a huge, huge advantage. Now the conversation that I don't know that there's an answer to.
Okay.
What the hell do the Nationals do with Ryan Zimmerman?
Well, you know he's playing, and he's going to be on the roster. I mean,
Well, on the roster is a foregone conclusion.
are you really going to get to the playoffs for the second time in team history and have Ryan Zimmerman, who's been there since the beginning, sitting? No, it's not going to happen.
I don't know how you can. And not to mention, let's not forget about this part. When he's playing, the team's better.
Yes.
You could take almost anyone out of that lineup and put Ryan Zimmerman in, and the team is better.
Yep.
True?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I mean, there are some people who are not removable from that lineup. I think there are 4 people who are not removable from that lineup.
Yes.
And Span, Rendon, Worth, and Ramos.
Interesting.
I think.
I didn't have the same 4.
Well, who are yours?
I would say I wouldn't have put Ramos in there because Lobaton's been absolutely spectacular lately.
So that's a good point. Because
not only offensively, he's been really solid. Calls a hell of a game.
Yeah, that's a good point. If Strasburg pitches game 1, I'm not entirely convinced Lobaton isn't playing it.
I mean, it's also. How can you not say Desmond?
Yeah. Okay, you're right.
2020 amazing fielding shortstop.
Yeah, you're right. I would remove Ramos and add Desmond. You're right. I don't know how I messed that up. You're totally right. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. So I think we both agree that Zimmerman is starting game 1, right?
He absolutely is starting.
Ryan Zimmerman, not Jordan. Ryan.
Oh, absolutely.
So in that case, where does he go? And I think that our pick will be right. It will be the same.
Okay, what do you have?
I think he plays third base.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and
he has to. I think as wonderful as Drupal Cabrera has been, I think you're not going to lose much at second base with Rendon playing there.
Yeah.
You're definitely not going to lose anything on offense there. You're going to lose a little bit third base defense, obviously.
A little bit to more than a little bit. Let's be honest about it. We don't know what we're getting.
Well, here's the thing. As long as Zimmerman can stop the ball, it's not going to be so bad.
Yes.
I can deal with a rainbow throw that's within 10 feet because if it's within 10 feet of the base,
is catching it.
LaRoche will catch it.
Yeah.
As long as he can stop the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if he had Derek Jeter range, that would be a problem.
Right. If the range was gone, it'd be an issue.
So I think the offensive upsides far outweigh the downside.
Yeah, I completely agree. You're losing some defense, but you're getting, and like we've said a million times, and this isn't taking anything away from Asdrubal Cabrera, who helped the Nationals be in the position that they're in, you're getting a lot more offensively. A lot more offensively, having Zimmerman there instead of Cabrera. So now I think there's a really good chance that in the 7th inning, with the Nationals having a lead, Ryan Zimmerman's coming out of that game, and Rendon's going to play third, and Cabrera's coming in at second.
Oh, I completely agree.
But Zimmerman's starting those games, and he's starting them at third base. I can't imagine another scenario.
The only scenario that Ryan Zimmerman does not start game 1 is if he tweaks his hamstring in the next week.
Which is obvious. Yeah, obviously.
Which is entirely possible.
You can't have the first ever game 1 home game in Washington, D.C. and have Ryan Zimmerman riding your bench.
It's not going to happen.
You can't do it. Yes, it's narrative, whatever, but it's more than narrative. Like we've said 100 times, they're just better when he's playing. They're
I mean,
just better.
if you look at the Nationals franchise, the entire franchise that's represented in that Game 1 lineup, you've got Ryan Zimmerman, drafted 2005, face of the franchise. You've got Steven Strasburg and Bryce Harper, generational talents. You've got Jason Worth, who was the first splash. He was the "we're here, we're queer, get used to it" moment for Mike Rizzo.
Nice.
So you've got an entire generation of.
You've got Ian Desmond watching Montreal Expo.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got a little bit of everything. So, yeah, I think that it's now the order. I've kind of hit a point with the Nationals batting order. Who cares? It's so good.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter too much.
When you have all of the starters in there, it's impossibly good.
As long as Stan Rendon at the top.
Yeah, which it's going to be. That's not going to change.
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be Span, Rendon, Worth, LaRoche.
I remember we had some podcasts at the very beginning of the year where Matt Williams threw out 15 different lineups in 18 games or something crazy like that, and everyone was like, what the hell is going on? Doesn't he know that, they need some consistency in this lineup and order? Last 2 months has been pretty much rubber stamp.
And, you can't fault a guy for saying, he was figuring out what he had, and not to mention everybody on Earth was hurt.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice little transition into, Matt Williams is a different dude.
How? So, he, at the beginning, looked, as much planning as Matt Williams did, he looked insecure. He didn't know what he was doing with pitching changes. With pitching changes, with pinch hitting, with lineup construction. It was confusing. You had no idea what you were getting on any given day. Oh my God, he looks like a different person. As far as managing.
Yeah, he absolutely does.
You and I were pretty brutal of him earlier in the year.
Yeah, I was really not happy at first. It's just he was doing a lot of things with the bullpen, with all sorts of things, and it was just not good. It was not good. But I think he might have still been learning a little bit, which obviously, he must have been learning a little bit. So he has changed completely. Figured out who he's got, what he's got, who works best where, how to use certain players in so that they can be at their best, if you will.
Yeah, he put such a premium on getting buy-in more than anything else from that clubhouse, and not just from the players, from the coaches. And it has paid him dividends over the course of the season.
Yeah. It's
been huge for him. Those coaches that he has would for Matt Williams. They believe so much in what Williams is doing, and like I said, we were really critical of him in the beginning of the season, and credit where credit's due. He has been awesome.
Yes, he absolutely has.
And good on him. And the side of that is it's much easier to be awesome when you have 33 guys on your roster than when you have 25. Because you could make those matchups and stuff, but I think having the extra guys has helped him figure out how to do that. To make those pitching matchups and pitching changes. I think that's really helped him out a lot. Personally.
Definitely.
So, yeah. That's all I got on that. The last thing about postseason roster that I want to talk about, and then I want to move on to some superlative stuff. Rafael Soriano.
Yep.
We got to talk about it. There's no way he makes the postseason roster, right?
He can't.
He can't make the postseason roster. And for a guy that got the Nationals where they are, and he's a huge part of it. The first half of the Nationals, There were some games where the only reason that they won that game was because he came in that game in a one-run game and nailed it and was awesome.
Yep.
He's staggeringly terrible right now.
Yes, it's tragic because honestly, he had a phenomenal first half. I believe he was at a sub-1 ERA in the first half of the season.
Yeah, it was insane.
Since then, he's just fallen completely off a cliff. Watching on TV, his fastball's hitting 89 or staying consistently around 89, 90. He'll touch 92, and it is flat.
It's flat. It's there. He has a couple of good ones, but it's up in the zone. It's not located.
No, and it's straight ball, not that fast. It's the kind of pitch that a AAA player would just crush.
Yeah, it's just not there anymore, and it's a real shame.
Yeah, he's been given chance after chance after chance after chance in the last 3 weeks to really get it done, to really kind of take. But I can still be an effective player. He just hasn't.
Everything you just said was just lost because you broke up real bad.
Oh, well, crap. Yeah, every opportunity he's had in the past 3 weeks, he's not taken. He has not taken the chance to show that he's a different pitcher, that he's figured something out. It's been just a disaster. And
I got to be honest with you, and I'm not someone who cares about this at all. I actually like it, but it kind of culminated with the untuck yesterday. It's like, I know it's his thing, but you're so bad right now. Just kind of like, hug your catcher, give your outfielder some high fives for saving you, and like move on. Show a little bit of humility for getting saved in that scenario. And like I said, I'm someone, I really like when pitchers do that, but it really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, I hear that.
So yeah, because when you're talking about people who are in that bullpen, the only people that you could remove from it are him and Blevins. And I think the value that Blevins brings, even as a guy who can only pitch to lefties, is way higher than what Soriano's bringing right now.
Oh, absolutely, without question. And even a player like Aaron Barrett.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Barrett's, he's a mortal lock that he's going to make it at this point.
Yeah.
So
I think he's given every chance to Soriano to really show that he can make it. Every single opportunity has been hard hit balls or all the base
for like 10 seconds.
What?
You keep disappearing for like 10-second chunks.
Oh my gosh.
Is your wife streaming things?
I don't know, probably.
That's probably what it is. Well, yeah, I will try to sum up what you're saying by saying, yes, Blevins is way more valuable. You bring in him to face the one lefty at the beginning, and then you bring in Barrett. You can do so much more with a guy like him especially when Soriano. If Soriano's on, he's the guy, but he's not, and you can't take a chance in the postseason on a guy like Soriano the way he's pitching.
No, you absolutely can't.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
I figured as much. You ready to do superlatives?
What? I can't hear you.
Superlatives.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Sweet. So we're going to go NL and AL, MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, and Manager of the Year. We're going to start with Manager of the...
That's way too many things for you to tell me all at once.
Well, so. I'll take it piece by piece. Don't worry. I just am kind of going over it. So we're going to start with Manager of the Year and work our way up to the real thing, which is MVP. We'll start with the American League. American League Manager of the Year.
American League Manager of the Year. I think we both have the same guy.
Yep.
So let me pull. I'm pulling mine up.
For the record, we didn't talk about this at all before.
No, I got Buck Showalter.
Yeah, me too. I still don't know how he did it with that lineup, but he did, and they're awesome. And
yeah, without Machado, Davis, or Wieters.
Yeah, incredible, and next to no pitching.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's awesome. Do you have a runner-up for AL Manager?
I have Mike Scioscia.
Me too.
I have the Angels have supposed to have been really good for like 3 years now, and they weren't. They were just terrible. And they were finally good.
Yeah, I think Mike Scioscia is getting screwed here because the names on his lineup card are so good.
Are so good at some point.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I think, the fact that he's finally found a way to get those guys to work out, and yeah, he's my runner-up.
Yeah, definitely.
National League Manager of the Year.
National League Manager of the Year. I'm going to disappoint some people probably. I've got Bruce Bochy.
Bueller?
I'm sorry. I was trying to say, and I guess it didn't work. I'm going to disappoint some people. I've got Bruce Bochy.
I like that call a lot, actually. I went with the homer pick just because I see him, and it's more a kind of like a most improved award than anything for me, because if you would have told me in June I would pick Matt Williams to win the National League Manager of the Year, I would have laughed at myself. But I think that he's going to, ultimately, I don't think he's going to win, but I think that he deserves a mention in the conversation. For my runner-up, I've got Clint Hurdle, because I think that he's done a Pittsburgh. Do you have a runner-up for the National League?
My runner-up is Matt Williams.
Yeah, I figured as much. And Bochy could definitely be on that list. Do you want to talk about why you picked Bochy at all?
Not really. I thought out of everything, he deserved it the most, just with what he's got to work with. The Nationals came into the season expected to be, front runners in the NL East. The Braves started dying.
We lost you again. So I would agree, because and that Matt Williams could kind of get screwed here too, because the lineup expectations there are similar to what Mike Scioscia was at. So I don't disagree with Bruce Bochy at all. People talk about how the Giants are very good all the time, but he's done a lot with that lineup. There are a lot of good names in that lineup, but it's not a powerhouse the way the Nationals are, and they have done extremely well. So I wouldn't disagree at all.
Right, to take the Dodgers down to the end of the season, like they have with, the Dodgers being just money powerhouse.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. American League Rookie of the Year, which should be a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, it's Jose Abreu, and that it's not close.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like not even a conversation. I didn't even put a runner-up because it just doesn't matter.
I did. It was hard.
Yeah, who'd you pick?
I picked Danny Santana.
Yeah, if I were going to pick a guy, he would be my guy, because he was my starting shortstop on fantasy all year, and he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was absolutely phenomenal.
He's the shortstop for the Minnesota Twins, in case you weren't aware and don't follow the American League.
Oh, he's a shortstop and outfielder.
Right. Yeah, he's very good, and he's hitting like crazy. So he's like 4,000 leagues below Jose Abreu after this season.
Yeah, it's Jose Abreu, and it's not close.
Yeah. National League Rookie of the Year.
National League Rookie of the Year. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I've got Little D, Big G, DeGrom.
Yeah, definitely. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and once again, I don't think this one's that close. I think there's a clear second, but I don't think it's a close second, if you will.
I would agree. There's a clear but not a close second. Jacob deGrom, the Nationals have seen him in New York this year. He's just had an unreal season. He is sporting a 9.24 strikeout per nine rate, a 2.63 ERA, 2.67 FIP, 3.1 wins above 22 games started. I mean, it's unbelievable how good he is.
Yeah.
So
it's not close. And for second, I'm sure you also have Billy Hamilton.
Yeah. Who surprised a lot of people. He hit a lot better than I think people expected. And
he's been way better. He was expected to be, a guy that was going to hit 210 and get on base 250, 270, and he's done markedly better.
Yeah.
He's learning how to hit, which is huge because his speed is insane.
Yeah, it's really good.
So, yeah.
All right. American League Cy Young. I once again think this is probably we should have probably started this with. We did talk about this a little bit. There are really no surprises here. It's just a matter of order of the guys below the ones that won.
Yeah, you asked me to go like 3 deep on these, so
yeah, I did go 3 deep on these.
I'm sure we'll disagree maybe once, maybe.
Yeah. American League Cy Young. You have
Felix.
Yeah, obviously. Who's your 2?
My 2 is Corey Kluber.
Yep, me too. Your 3?
Who's your 3?
Chris Sale.
Same.
Yeah, of course. I feel like those 3. Kluber was kind of the number 2 for me because, wow, he came out of nowhere. Yeah, no one knew who Corey Kluber was before the 2014 season. So good on him. But Felix Hernandez could have, in a real world, had a push at the AL MVP. To be totally honest with you, it was just not close. He was so good that it was kind of a no-brainer. NL Cy Young. Kershaw is number 1. Duh. Who's your number 2?
Andrew McCutchen.
Cy Young, dude.
Cy Young. I'm sorry. I'm listening.
Wainwright. I've got Cueto 2.
So you've got...
And I've got Wainwright 3. Who do you have 3?
Cueto.
So we just flipped them.
So I think when I talk loudly, it doesn't come through on the recording.
Well, so you're going to have to use your relaxed and...
Very, very difficult for me to use a normal person voice.
Well, for MVP in the American League, I mean, come on.
Trout.
He's finally going to get it.
The crazy thing is, this year has been Trout's worst season as a full season player, but he's going to actually win the MVP because Miguel Cabrera didn't win a Triple Crown. Yes,
right, exactly. And it should have been far less of a lock this year, actually. Yeah, like you said, for Trout, but yeah, he's going to run away with it.
Oh yeah, worst, very, very, very relative.
Yeah, worst as far as incredibly fucking good goes.
But we're talking an 8.5 win player as opposed to a 10.5 win player.
Ridiculous.
Who you got number 2?
Abreu.
Abreu as well. Who you got number 3?
Michael Brantley.
I wanted to put him number 3, but I didn't.
Who'd you put?
Victor Martinez.
Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, I kind of went between 3 people for my 3rd spot. It was Brantley, Martinez, and Felix.
Yeah, I really like that Brantley pick. He was phenomenal.
He was so good. And I really wanted to put Felix there because he's been he's had one of his best years, and there was some concern that Felix was going to have a downturn at some point because his velocity was coming down and blah, blah, blah. But he has been MVP vote caliber. So, yeah. National League MVP.
I've got
Also a foregone conclusion at Clayton Kershaw, right?
Got to be Kershaw.
Yeah. You already spoiled this one, too. You have McCutcheon. Yes.
Yep.
I have Giancarlo, 2.
I have Giancarlo 3.
Yeah, and I have Cutchin 3. So we flipped a couple, but we pretty much had the same names. The only name that we had that was different was our third place AL MVP.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, that's the only name that we had that wasn't on our list somewhere. On the same vein, kind of wrapping up on a Nationals note, do any Nationals get any votes in any of these categories?
Yes. I think there are going to be a few votes for Rendon.
For MVP.
I think the Cy Young, what is Cy Young, 5 deep?
I think it's 5 deep.
I think you're going to see votes for Strasburg and Zimmerman.
Really?
I think you will, just based on especially Strasburg's strikeout per 9 numbers and Jordan Zimmerman's just consistent fantasticness.
Interesting.
I think votes before.
I'm sorry?
Actually gotten some votes before.
Who has? I can't hear anything you're saying.
For Christ's sakes.
I think the first word that you say is getting cut off every time.
Yeah, probably, because everything sucks.
So yeah, it's five people deep on the Cy Young balloting. I just don't see that. Oh my God, so many noises. I don't see a way that any Nats get any votes on the Cy Young side of things. I would like to think that both of those guys would get one, Strasburg and Zimmerman. If anybody were to get one, I think it'd be Zimmerman. I think that Strasburg plays such that expectation game. I think he gets screwed sometimes.
How does it go? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's airier, but it's definitely clearer.
Okay. I was using different headphones than I usually do.
The headphones.
Because they're way more comfortable.
Oh yeah, it was definitely the headphones. You're so much clearer.
Son of a bitch. Well, that's suboptimal quality for you.
Yeah, suboptimal baseball radio.
That's right. So what I was trying to say, hasn't Jordan Zimmerman gotten votes before?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think, well, I don't know.
I could be crazy. I mean, you can type faster than I can.
I'm probably.
But anyway, I think there's a chance.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, Zimmerman got 6 third-place votes and 3 fifth-place votes last season. Yeah,
Hello?
so you were right.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I think there's a chance that kind of thing could happen again, especially just because the Nationals pitching staff has become quite the story.
Oh yeah, for sure. There is definitely a conversation and storyline around that. For MVP, definitely going to get votes, no doubt about it. That Rendon's going to get votes. It's top 10, so if he doesn't, it's stupid. It's just like impossible to imagine he would even if it's just local writers, but he's definitely going to get some votes.
Right. I think I texted to you the other day. I think if he gets votes from some out-of-town writers, I will be happy.
Yeah, and he should. I think he will get some out-of-town votes, but there will definitely be votes that happen there, no doubt, for Rendon for me. But I think that's it as far as MVP goes.
And I think that's just telling of who the Nationals 2014 team is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just quality. It's deep. It's every player is good. No one really stands out too much.
Right. Every player is very good.
Yeah.
There's nobody that's been particularly great, but everybody's been very good. And I think that Matt Williams will definitely get some Manager of the Year votes.
Yeah, I think there's a chance, and honestly, he probably deserves it as well.
Oh yeah. I think if I'm a betting man, I would say that Matt Williams finishes 3rd.
Yeah.
with MVP. I think that Bochy's probably going to win. I think that Hurdle's going to get second, and I think that Matt's going to get third.
Nice.
That's my little prediction there.
Well, that's a nice little prediction there. I like it.
So, well, do you have anything else to add as we hit our final minutes of the long overdue episode of Nats Talk on the Go?
You know, I really don't have too much to add. No, I really don't.
Yeah, and I'm totally done. We hit all my points. Just because of what day it is, this will be our final regular season episode of Nats Talk on the Go.
Mm-hmm.
We will podcast in the postseason.
Yes, we will.
Because it's just so fun to talk about postseason, even if we're not only talking nationals. Postseason's just baseball postseason is just awesome.
It's so much fun.
So we'll be back with you. I will not promise you next week because we always do and we always lie. But
Yep.
We will get back with you at some point here by the end of the division series for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if we do a little something to preview the division series and something afterwards. But yeah, thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode of Nats Talk on the Go. And we'll see you next time we see you.
All right.